without saying his name.
Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. We got a viewer request for a DM do's and don'ts. So this is going to be our first in a series. So with this series, we're going to give you a do and a don't and talk about each.
So for this one, it's player agency versus DM character control.
Right.
Essentially.
And not like an NPC possesses the character, but the DM says like, hey, you're a paladin now because I wanted one in the game.
Or, you should definitely go over and do this and then put you in that situation where it wasn't your character's choice.
Or when we've played with DMs, like the worst thing that could happen is they really liked your character, they really hated your character, and your character.
The outcomes were still equally bad.
Yeah, like you're hoping to like kind of like slide by in the middle somewhere.
To not draw the attention, the ire.
Like
have the eye upon you.
I just recently had someone in the comments ask about the situation he's dealing with, and I forget. I think his character is a paladin, and his DM feels he should take bard levels due to something in the story or whatever, but he's not really interested in pursuing bard.
Right.
And now he's feeling like he's being pressured by that DM to take bard levels, and the DM keeps like insinuating, "Oh, this would be so much better if you had a bard." In the party or someone with bard levels. And I told him, look, I fucking hate that shit. That would be, actually that is one of the things that would make me angry enough at the table to actually want to punch the DM. Because it's your character. Play the character. Like, even if it wasn't happening to me, it was happening to somebody else. Like, you can suggest things as the DM, but if your player's not interested, you need to fucking drop it and let them play their character.
Right.
And you control everything else in the game.
Yes.
You gotta give the guy something, like, come on.
You're everything else
You
in the
could
world.
have a Titan show up and crush them all if you really wanted to.
Well, and if you wanted that thing to exist in your game, make an NPC that is along the lines of the thing that you thought would be kind of cool if the player did it, but they're not going to, and leave it alone, and make the NPC.
If you're that hung up on the idea, show it off as something.
Although that probably
see.
that probably gets almost to the point of the other level of bad where like it becomes the GM NPC. Like the awesome Mary Sue character. That's
so DM or GM don't try and control the players' characters and their choices. Let them play the characters they want.
Right.
So on the other side of this, we want to talk about the do.
Player agency. I did an article on this on nerdarchy.com, and it's something that I've only gotten serious recent exposure to, and I absolutely fell in love with the concept. And I've taken it to almost the extremes with what I've done with my game. But player agency, as long as it's controlled, as long as you don't have jackass players who are trying to be like, oh, well, I happen to find this Holy Avenger in between adventures. Can I have it? If you actually allow it to be just, total RP and character development, so many wonderful things can happen. You wind up getting player and character goals given to you by the player that you don't have to go hunting for. You wind up getting enriched environments and new things happening in your terrain, and they're spoon feeding you plot hooks and storylines, world details, so much stuff. And above and beyond all of that, you're giving the players buy-in. You're giving them so much more love for their character because you're allowing them to just run with it.
Because they've made the tapestry of your world, as they're going with that character.
So there's no reason why you wouldn't want to be like, listen, I don't have to create something. They're gonna do it, and by doing the work, they're saving you trouble, and they're liking their character more. Where's the downside?
Another part of player agency, that's good, background part and what happens throughout the game, but on a round by round basis, the player has an idea and you're in a warehouse or something, is there a barrel or something? It's sure, there's a barrle.
It's a warehouse, of course. There's a barrel.
There's an empty one. There's an empty one, and there's a stack of empty ones, and there's one filled with fish. Give them it. See what they're gonna do with it.
If they're asking for a bush, a rock, a tree, if you don't have a reason why it wouldn't be there, let them have it. And everyone at the table is gonna find enjoyment at the, oh man, I got a great idea.
And hey, you're in a desert, so there's no bush or tree. Well, there's cactus, and there's a little cleft of rock over there. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but that's all I got. It's a desert. Like give them something that they can do something with, even if it's not ideally what they want.
Right.
There's sand. There's lots of sand. I will throw this little disclaimer out there. If you're going to do this as the DM, you got to let your players know. I actually had it come up in my game, in our Outcast game, where I'm like, well, what's the name of the street of your shop? And they're like, like a deer in headlights, because you know what? I feel like more like us old school gamers have less exposure to player agency. Mm-hmm. It feels like a newer thing to me, but it's just newer to us. But there are definitely a lot of other role playing games out there, like the Fates, where it's expected.
Well,
Dungeon World, it's entirely built on that.
Yeah.
Even Mutants and Masterminds, you have a currency in order to edit the scenes. So if you haven't played games outside of Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, and no one in your group has, it may be a foreign concept to you. But it's a lot of fun when you let the players have it, and I think the biggest thing is I think you should throw it out there in the beginning of the game, and let them know that they can do this, and also in addition to that, be like, sometimes as a DM, I'm going to call on you for information. If you say something, then you've opened yourself up for me to have you elaborate on it.
Well, also too though, you could have some things that you could just earmark to come back to, like, and not put people on the spot. If they don't have something in that moment, it's just like, think about it, get back to me.
Another simple thing is getting exercise in that ability would be just say, well, you've killed. This is a killing blow. What happened? Mm-hmm. Just have them describe something as simple as, it's got finality to it. They're swinging a weapon or doing something that's going to defeat the other creature. So that gives them some parameter to work with, but it still gives them that kind of like test of their creative power on it. So I think that's a good place to start. And then also with, if they're, Dave brought up a good point. You got to let them know that's what you want them to do, want their involvement with it. I mean, you're fine with doing it if they don't want to, but it's going to give them more I think, to the combat as well.
I also feel like too with that sort of describing a killer blow, it'd be good if you had like a certain phrase that you say every time to let them know that you've landed the killing blow. Like one GM that I had would just say, describe it, so this way you knew that you killed it and you get to describe the kill. Mm-hmm. Because I try to only do like really like gruesome descriptions when I know I killed the thing, because that's
I've had it in my game where the player
describes all these horrendous things. It's like 4 points of damage.
Like they assumed they got the killing blow, and it still was up. And so they had put this description where they lopped off like a limb and stabbed it through the eye, all in one swing, and it's like it's still up. So, but I mean, whatever. Like as a GM, it doesn't bother me, but it is good to give, give a clue. Have a phrase you use or whatever.
Catchphrases
so that they do know. But, in that case, I just went with it. Yeah, so it hobbles on 3 legs and it's blind in one eye now, screaming in rage, and then the next attacker or whatever drops it. But, so that's also a good tip.
Yeah, you want to think that you drop something if you do over 50 points in a round. Sometimes, sometimes it don't happen.
Another thing for the don't aspect of controlling the players is if you're, I play in the sandbox that is a railroad. It's like the sandbox is a complete illusion, but the second my players really feel like in their hearts that this is a railroad, I've failed, is what I see it as.
Right.
So, artifacts.
It's an underground railroad.
Well, no, it's a sandbox that when you dust away the sand, there's rail.
Yeah, you're like, wow, there's tracks going all over the place.
It's the illusionary
here.
Sandbox.
Yeah, so that's the way I like to play it, and I think it's good for the players because they invent and do all this kind of crazy stuff. But a problem with when you have that railroad, the more you make it feel like one, the more I feel like you're doing that bad DM thing where you're taking away their agency and you're just saying this is what's happening to you. So you decided to go left, but I'm gonna have this collapse or something.
That kind of happened.
Right anyway.
That kind of happened to me in the game last night. Like my players insisted on going after the overwhelmingly larger party than them, and I'm like, they're really gonna do this. All right, but I'm not gonna say no. And I'm not gonna. They're like, well, can we get help? No, they can't help you. You got to do it on your own.
They're not. These other guys aren't dumb.
But so then, I had to come up with on the spot. I also had to come up with a way for them
To not die?
No, not to not die. I'm not that worried about that. For you guys to actually want to do what you're trying to do, but not make it a suicide run,
Right.
and seem feasible. Which led to some different role-playing encounters, which led to things that I hadn't planned in the sessions that just like worked out. I tried to present it as, well, if you would try and tackle this problem head on, it's not going to go well. Like, this is kind of a common sense thing here. There's 100 creatures and you guys are 7.
Why did they think this was a good idea in the first place?
I don't know. Players
Was it goblin influenced?
Maybe. It might have been.
Partially, but not completely.
Okay.
They might have been feeding the rest of the party drugs.
Yeah. So, but still, so I'm like, well, I'm not going to just say no. So, then they had to kind of work around the problem. Like, one is how are we going to find them, for one, and two, what are we going to do when we do find them? So, solving the one problem kind of helped me out in the sense that, while there are other people that know the area way better than you and would have an idea. And so when we talked to them, they got the idea of another way to do things, which led to different problems that they now have to tackle. But it also made the suicidal run even more suicidal. Well, yeah, they're holed up in these bluffs, and they're going to be able to see anyone coming easily and just rain down arrows on them with no problem. I would never go that way. And my party's going like, why not? But there is another way. Or they asked, is there another way? And I'm like, sure, there's another way. You can go through the kobold tunnels.
Yeah.
Which inevitably will be loaded with kobolds and traps.
And kobold traps.
But less deadly than 100 bowmen in cover.
Yeah, well, no, it'd only be 50 bowmen.
50 bowmen and their dranthers.
And their dranthers.
Oh,
Their
okay.
war dranthers.
Steeds.
Yeah. Oh, and all 50 of them have a breath weapon, too, so that can't possibly go wrong, can it?
Not for everything.
No, not at all.
Never tell us the odds.
Maybe if you're in a giant tank, Titan mech warrior golem or something, then I would
That's
be like,
amenable.
yeah, let's do this. We got fire
so
protection.
I kind of put it out there as a threat to be
Poison
foreboding in the future.
Uh-huh.
But my players are like, the future is now.
We've got flat screen TVs. The future is now. Yeah.
So
Well, that's the thing. You put out a thread, a major thing, and your players want to grasp at the thread that's presented.
yeah.
Because what else do we want to do? Are we going to mop up little groups of 10 guys or whatever, or go and try to do something against the host, or at least scout them out?
They
I
have their
was-
reasons. I'm sure they're not all crazy.
I was more interested in trying to find out where they were, not try to go attack them, because it's 100 on 7 was not going
You
to
don't
work.
get to make
The
that choice in
Goblos
the end.
absolutely want to attack them.
Yeah, you might have just 2 dead goblins after that.
Well, and also too, my character's a little crazed with wanting to kill their leader. So
Well, yeah, I definitely got that. Bloodfang's also a little battle crazy as well. So we're getting way off topic
Yeah.
here. This is
But-
supposed to be a
well,
short,
okay.
quick video.
So this is how player agency can go wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're exploring our player agency.
So there you go. Player agency, allow it. Be careful with it. Make sure you rein your crazy players in to make sure that they're not adding too much stuff or adding things that are beyond the scope or power level of the game.
If they're make sure they're not blatantly cheating is really what it comes down to. That's what you're looking for.
And as far as if you're a GM, your players have to have choice. They're going to create their characters. They're going to be the race and the class that they want, within the scope of what you're allowing in your game. But don't tell them what their actions have to be. Don't tell them what classes that they need to level up to.
Don't use proxy artifacts to do that either.
To control them, yeah.
It's about player choice, and you need to make sure they have it.
So that's good. So if you want, you can vent about times that your agency and choice has been taken away from you by a horrible GM over in the comments below. While you're doing that, you can also comment, and subscribe.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You also check out the store at nerdarchy.com.
And you can also join the conversation on Reddit.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.